Friends, God has worked in you. If you put your trust in Jesus Christ, if you've repented and believed upon him, he's worked in you an inner transformation. Live it out. God's cleansed you from sin. Live it out. He's put his word and his will in you. Live it out. He's made a new and close relationship with you. Live it out. He invites you to do for this. Now, if someone were to be very skeptical, they might say, "Preacher, how do I know that these wonderful promises, that the bread and the cup was not just for the 11 or 12, we haven't decided fully whether Judas was there or not, for the 11 or 12 men around that table? How do we know that it's for us today?" Would you look again at the verse? It says right there in verse 28, "which is shed for many." He didn't say, "my blood which is shed for you," even though that would have been true. He didn't say, "for you, my favored disciples," but he says, "no, it is shed for many." Dear friend, I pray tonight you are part of that many. That you have received what Jesus Christ offers, given to us in the bread and the cup. It's ours. He gives it freely. Now he also says this, verse 29, "until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." Jesus looked forward to a future celebration of the Passover in heaven, one that he has not yet celebrated with his people. He's waiting for all his people to be gathered with him, and then there's going to be a great supper in heaven, what the Bible calls in Revelation chapter 19, the marriage supper of the Lamb. That will be the fulfillment in his Father's kingdom that Jesus longed for. And then at the end of it all, verse 30, "and when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives." I've got to restrain myself here because I love to preach on the idea that Jesus sang. We don't often think of that, do we? We think of Jesus in many ways, but singing Jesus is not something we think about commonly. But right here, we know that Jesus sang with his disciples. Now, this was part of this Passover liturgy. It was part of the service that they would do together. Matter of fact, they would sing the psalms known as the Hallel, Psalms 116, 117, and 118. Beautiful psalms, so filled with rich messianic meaning, so filled with them. But I think it's amazing that just a few hours before Jesus would be arrested, and then later, within 24 hours, be crucified, he could sing praise to his God and Father. You know, sometimes I don't feel like singing songs of worship to the Lord. Maybe that's none of you, but sometimes I'm like that. And I just think, you know, if Jesus could sing on a night like that, how can I let my tongue be silent in song before the Lord? All right, I want to conclude with this. Go back to verse 26. I love the simplicity of what Jesus said. He said, "Take, eat. This is my body." And then in verse 27, he said, "Drink from it, all of you." When it comes to the bread, when it comes to the cup, don't ever forget what Jesus said to do with them. Take and eat. Now, I think there's rich significance in both of those words. That word simply means take. What does it mean? You've got to take it. It's not going to be forced upon anyone. You must actually receive it. Friends, if you don't want Jesus, he is not, in a sense, going to force himself upon you. Now, I will say this. you will have to reckon with Jesus one way or another. You may say, I don't want Jesus. I won't take him. Forget it. It's not for me. Keep to yourself, Jesus. Keep to yourself, God of the Bible. I'll go my own way. Fine. God gives you the right and sort of respects your right to do that. But nevertheless, the Bible tells us that there will come a day when every knee will bow, when every tongue will confess in heaven and in hell that Jesus Christ is Lord. I'm here to tell you, you are gonna bow the knee to Jesus Christ. Every person who has ever walked this earth is going to bow their knee to Jesus Christ and declare that he's Lord. How much better to do it on this side of eternity where you can enjoy every benefit of it, where you can say, no, because you've invited me, Jesus, I will take and eat instead of having it, so to speak, forced upon you as recognition on that final day. Every person will have to reckon with Jesus Christ. How beautiful that he gives us the opportunity right here, right now, to take and to eat. But take is just the first part of it. The second part is eat. Without food and drink, you can't live. You know what it's like, don't you, to have a loved one, or maybe just someone you know. They're dying of a disease, perhaps it's dreaded cancer or something else. And they get to the point where they just can't or won't eat anymore. And you see them waste away. It's like every day more and more life leaves them. And you just, please eat something. You can't live unless you eat. Without Jesus, we perish. As much as your body needs food, your soul needs Jesus. But that's not all. Eat also refers to how you have to take it within your innermost being. Now, I'm not trying to be flippant or silly here, but you know, if you take a piece of bread and rub it on your head, it's of zero nutritional value to you. You can say, I don't know why I'm interacting with this bread all the time. No, that bread isn't going to do you any good unless you take it within your innermost being the way that God has appointed. Then it does good. And just being next to Jesus or associated with Jesus or being, so to speak, to use a flippant phrase, on Team Jesus. No, you have to take him within your innermost being. Jesus, I'm all in. When you eat something, you're fully committed to it. You were fully committed to those beautiful tacos this evening, were you not? You didn't say, well, just half and I'll put, no, you ate the whole thing. In your innermost being. That's how we have to eat. And one other aspect about eating. Everyone must eat for themselves. You have to do it. My eating isn't going to directly do any good for you nutritionally. Everybody must eat for themselves. Everybody must believe for themselves. So it's wonderful if you come from a long line of believers, maybe a long line of preachers, a long line of servants of God. That's a glorious heritage. God bless you for it. But you must eat. It's a very personal thing. Friends, God's invitation is out there to you right now. Take, eat. Receive what Jesus has to give you. Receive it into your innermost being. Realize that it's what your life is sustained upon and say, I'm going to do it for myself because I need to.